Hi, my name is Erdley, aka The Black Mamba, and thank you for joining us on tonight's episode of Fact News. Tonight we have a special guest as the Supreme Court has just announced the decision of the Salim Hamdan versus Rumsfeld case. For those of you who don't remember, it is alleged that between the years of 1996 and 2001, Hamdan was a bodyguard and driver of Osama bin Laden, and he was engaged in actions in preparation for the 9/11 attacks against the United States. Militia forces in Afghanistan that were fighting the Taliban at the time captured Hamdan and turned him over to the U.S. military in 2002. He was then transferred to Guantanamo Bay, and after a year of being detained without any charges being brought against him, President Bush declared that he had committed acts tribal on the military commission. He was then charged with one count of conspiracy to commit offenses tribal-like commission. Tonight we have Joshua Green, a Washington, D.C. lawyer and military commission specialist who has graciously taken the time to speak with us regarding the case. So hello and welcome, Mr. Green.
Hello, Erdley, and thank you for having me on tonight.
Now, Mr. Green, the issue at hand is whether Hamdan committed a crime triable by a military commission, and whether that commission is constitutional, correct?
Yes, this is correct. Now, Hamdan v. Rumsfeld is an appeal case, where the original case holds that a military commission violated a detainee's rights under the Geneva Conventions. Hamdan was captured by Afghani forces and was imprisoned in 2002 by the U.S. in Guantanamo Bay. And since then, he has filed for a writ of habeas corpus in the D.C. Federal District Court to challenge his detention.
Now, for those of us at home who are unaware, could you briefly explain what writ of habeas corpus is?
Of course. A writ of habeas corpus is a proceeding in which a defendant brings a writ to compel a judicial determination of whether he is lawfully being held. Now, the issue began because before the D.C. Federal District Court ruled on Hamdan's writ, a military commission began proceedings which designated him an enemy combatant. Hamdan argued that the commission trial violated his rights under Article 102 of the Geneva Conventions. Now, Section 102 of the Geneva Conventions states that a prisoner of war can be validly sentenced only if he has been pronounced by the same courts according to the same procedure as in the case of the members of the armed forces of the detaining power.
I see.
Now, eventually, a D.C. court granted Hamdan his writ of habeas corpus, ruling that under the Geneva Convention, a hearing to determine whether he was a prisoner of war must have taken place before a military commission trial.
Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals reversed the federal court's decision, finding that the Geneva Convention could not be enforced in a federal court, and that establishment of military tribunals had been authorized by Congress and was therefore not unconstitutional.
Yes, that is correct.
Now, the president of the time, who has the power to try and punish crimes against the laws of the nation, this is the constitutional provision used to show that military commission tribunals are illegal, is it not?
Yes, however, the Supreme Court feels that only certain circumstances allow for the offense to be triable in a military commission.
But there are three types of offenses, and the third offense is when the crime is an incident to the conduct of war which violates the laws of the war. The court has stated that the third applies.
However, the charge of conspiracy is not an incident to the conduct of war. Incidents of war are accusations of actual conduct, not the attempt or planning of such conduct. Incoherent criminal charges belong in a federal court or court-martial proceedings.
So there are two issues being handled today by the Supreme Court. One, was the military commission established to try those deemed an enemy combatants for alleged war crimes in the war on terror authorized by Congress or the inherent powers of the president? And two, can the rights protected by the Geneva Convention be enforced in federal court throughout habeas corpus petitions? What decisions has the Supreme Court made on these issues?
Well, Erdley, the Supreme Court has made the following decisions today. First, neither an act of Congress nor the inherent powers of the executive branch laid out in the Constitution expressly authorized the establishment of the sort of military commission at issue. Absent this express authorization, the commission had to comply with ordinary laws of the U.S. and the laws of war. As well, the Geneva Convention may be enforced by the U.S. Supreme Court along with the statutory Uniform Code of Military Justice, since the military commission was not authorized. That being said, Hamdan's exclusion from certain classified parts of his trial violated both the Geneva Convention and the Uniform Military Code of Justice, and therefore the trial was illegal. And finally, Common Article 3, which provides minimal protection to an individual associated with either a signatory or a non-signatory power who are involved in a conflict in a territory of a signatory, applies to Hamdan and requires that he be tried by a regularly constituted court, affording all the judicial guarantees which are recognized as indispensable by civilized people.
Well, thank you, Mr. Green, for that breakdown of Supreme Court's ruling. Once again, I appreciate you taking the time to speak here at Fact News tonight. Before we go, I just want to say that this should be a reminder that the Hamdan decision is one of the stepping stones which may lead to an improvement in the situation in Guantanamo Bay detainees. Although several questions are still pending and many uncertainties remain regarding the fate of the detainees, the Hamdan decision is a reliable precedent for the future development. Undoubtedly, further governmental and congressional interventions, as well as court decisions, will be necessary to bring justice to the hundreds of suspects that are still held in Cuba. Perhaps one day, we will finally ensure that laws will never again be silent in Guantanamo Bay. Remember, you're here at the station of Fact News. We want to say have a day full of fact. And again, Mr. Green, it's good to see you. Hope to see you again soon.